Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Venus Mercury League. We are in week 5 of 6 before we head to playoffs. Thank you all for spending your Friday with us. I'm Ellie LaVale, and I'm joined by Skybilz, and we are going to have some great matches for you. It's the first week since Kaldheim became legal, so we have some new decks to show you, some cool matches. So buckle up. Hope you're ready. Allison, how you doing? Are you ready for this?
I'm doing well. You told me this was Kaldheim, but I'm looking at some of these lists here, and I don't even know if there's a new set that's frankly out here. So
okay. Actually, no, we do have some lists. We have some matches that one is actually mostly Kaldheim, which is pretty cool. But that's kind of to be expected, you know. A new set comes out, people are still getting their feelings. But I appreciate the players who came this week wanting to experiment with new cards, so we're going to see how that works. If you're new to these parts, the Venus Mercury League is a weekly league showcase. It showcases the marginalized genders in the Magic community, gives us a safe and competitive place to play, and we're really excited. This particular season is special because it's brought to you in association with the NRG series and sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. Very, very important. So prizes are big and it's on the line. It's week 5, so people are kind of figuring out, am I going to be in the playoffs? Am I not? Allison, you kind of know. You're kind of on the wire. Tell us about that.
So, as is with last season, I can't go through a VML lately without starting 1 and 2. And as you know, it gets a little bumpy around the X2, X3 range, okay? I just won. I am going on to 3 and 2 at this point with 2 weeks left to go, hoping to just crush both of my next couple of matches. And oh my gosh, I don't like being on the wire. Why do I start at 1 and 2 all the time? As you all know, last year I made it to the playoffs after starting 1 and 2, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this again, am I? And then I won the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do that again. So, oh my gosh, it's so nerve-wracking being on the wire. Yeah. And we're going to see a lot of folks who are 2 and 2 tonight, who were in the same position as me. So,
right. So the top 2 players from each division are going to be making it into the playoffs, and then you're going to have some wild card players, usually X and 2s. Their wild cards could get in. Most of them might. Just sort of depends on how things really work out. Maybe even some X3s. You never know. Things happen. Stuff gets crazy. So big thank you to all of you for joining us. Big thank you to NRG Series and Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring this showcase. Super appreciated. Super excited. Why don't we jump into the matches?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Actually, we have a meta breakdown first.
Yes, the meta, very important to know. Tell us about the meta, Allison.
So looks like right now, as Ellie was saying, you know, I joke, but there are a lot of people experimenting with the new Kaldheim cards right now. So it is no surprise. Week 1 of Kaldheim, we have 23 other strategy decks. And again, these are decks that are 2 or less from each thing. We have a couple of red, we have Bug Yorion, some mono green food, mono black, etc. Just a lot of different things floating around. But surprise, surprise, there's our friend, the Innkeeper over there at 15 decks, 10 girl, 5 Naya. That is the variant that's worth noting there as well. Still have a little bit of Dimir Rogues, Rakdos Midrange, Yorion Blink, and of course, is it the dragon showing its ugly. I'm going to be able to play counter spells after swinging head. Oh my gosh, Goldheim Dragon just being a total menace in the Is It setup. Ellie, what cards are you excited about from Kaldheim that might be in some of these decks?
Well, I'm really excited about the Elves deck we're going to see. Excited about that. I'm excited about the Planeswalkers. I mean, for me, Valky, God of Lies, flipping over to Tybalt, that's what I came here to see. I am ready for that. That's what I'm most excited about. Definitely to be expected. That's just like with a lot of new sets coming into existing formats, you're not going to see dramatic changes. Going to see adventures. It's already been there. Just tweaks, you know. People are still experimenting with cards, getting used to stuff, figuring out what's powerful. Also, you know, not to throw shade, but Throne of Eldraine is a set broken in half. So it would take an act of God to be overshadowed by a new set. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just keeping it 100. Just keeping it 100. Keeping it a stack. All right. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see some cool stuff today. So yeah, let's get into it.
All right. I believe we have our first matchup here. And we have Digitech Warrior here. And Yorion, as Ellie was saying, we have that also familiar face there. May not be Eldraine, but again, it is our favorite Ikoria companion here. Digitech being on the bubble here, much like myself at 2-2. Cards to watch out for: Yorion, Skyclave Apparition, Extinction Event. And the reason why Extinction Event is here, we'll get into this in a couple seconds here once we bring up the opponent's deck. Extinction Event is going to be one of those cards when you're playing against a creature-based deck, which their opponent is, you're going to have to worry about the board state. The board state is going to be what we're going to be paying attention to in this matchup. Also have a new, very powerful uncommon. Ellie and I were talking about this in the pre-show. Binding of the Old Gods. Oh my goodness. Is this an uncommon or should this be a rare or mythic? This card is absolutely ridiculous. Being able to destroy a target permanent, being able to increase the amount of force you have on the field. By the way, that gets a Triome out and may come in tapped if it's going to come in tapped. Anyways, why not grab a Triome and give yourself access to those colors? We also have Kaya. We were talking about the new Planeswalkers again. Ellie was talking about them, and Kaya here is of no exception. What do you think over here, Ellie, looking at this list?
Well, I'm pretty excited about this list, as excited as I will ever be for any Yorion Doom Foretold list. Just kidding. I'm just playing. No, this deck looks very interesting to me. I'm really keen on seeing how Kaya plays out. Like you said, binding the Old Gods is really good when you can bring it back from the graveyard. Blink it with Yorion, being able to destroy any non-land permanent an opponent controls is very, very powerful. So excited to see that card see play. Not excited to be on the receiving end of it literally ever. This list is also playing Valki, God of Lies, so that's a really interesting card. I'm excited to see it play out as well. And yeah, so this is definitely a more creature-heavy Yorion list. You know, it's not your traditional Doom Foretold. It's also cool to see how the food's going to interact, things like that. So I think we were talking about this before the cast, but this deck plays some red mana, does have sources from red mana from the food tokens, from the Triome, can play the other side of Valki, God of Lies as well to play Tybalt. So excited to see if that actually happens.
Yes, and now let's take a look at the other side of things here. We have Ash Lizzle running Orzhov Maul. Of course, no surprise here again. We're taking the same type of decks we had before Call Time and just adding that little bit of a spin to it here. We see our you either love it or you hate it combination of Seasoned Hallowblade and Maul of the Skyclaves. Very, very, very difficult to take down. Again, that's why we're keeping an eye on that Extinction Event out of the Yorion deck. We also have as if that was enough protection, we have Selfless Savior, All Seed. Again, two cards you really don't want to come across, especially early, and some momentum being continued by Skyclave Apparition. By the way, noticing a pattern, we see the Skyclave Apparition present in both decks, just some of the best removal you can possibly get right now. But yet there's something about this deck that looks like it is a slight mishmash between Rakdos and Orzhov. We get the Woe Striders coming into the Orzhov fold here. What are you thinking, Ellie?
Well, I think that this deck is pretty interesting. Luminous Broodmoth is not a card that we've seen a lot in Standard at all. I'm super not surprised Ash Lizzle is playing anything that I'm not surprised Ash Lizzle is playing a Woe Strider, some deck that takes advantage of some sacrifice synergies. It's really cool to see. But this is definitely, for me, at first glance, there's kind of a lot going on. But I know Ash Lizzle, super competitive, great player. There's no reason she wouldn't bring this to the table if she wasn't confident in what it was doing and she wasn't good with it. So I'm, sure this is going to be a great match, which we should jump right into that. What do you think?
I agree. Absolutely. Let's see it go. Ash Lizzle says the format hasn't changed, but has it changed? Let's see in this match.
All right, so looking at the hands here, we got a Trail of Crumbs, Elspeth Nightmare, and Extinction Event for Digitech Wire. How do we feel about that?
Well, there's this extinction event right away. That's something that's a little bit of a safety cushion here, especially given the opening play here.
Yeah, it looks like Ash Lizzle also has a couple has actually several creatures in hand, so is going to be coming out of the gates probably swinging. And here we see her bring Digitech Wire down to 19, following up with a Shade, the Skyclave Shade.
Yeah, and the Shade was something I hadn't really addressed earlier. Shade is really, really, really powerful against the control setup, except for all the exile that's present.
Yep. Digitech Wire is going to take care of that Skyclave Shade with a Glass Casket, slowing Ash Lizzle down.
All right, so it looks like there's going to be a little bit of ramping going on here. Again, a lot of removal on both sides here.
Well,
and
there's
we'll
some
see.
options. Yeah, you have some. You got options here. Looks like Digitech Wire is just going to go for continuing to pick off those creatures rather than ramp. How do we feel about that line of play?
I really enjoy this line of play because if the Shade can be removed, then Nightmare is just going to yoink it out of the graveyard into a couple turns. So again, Elspeth Nightmare being another critical matchup here, especially considering the double Shade we saw at the beginning, one of them being captured by the casket.
Ooh, looks like Digitech Wire just drew a Wicked Wolf. Now it's going to take something out of Ash Lizzle's hand.
I'm thinking you go for the tactics maybe, and that's exactly what's picked there because, again, that is the exile. Exile is power in this matchup.
Yeah, especially when you see that Broodmoth in the hand. I'm sure Digitech Wire is probably adjusting their play, their plan.
Ooh, so a little bit of a debate here. Do you play the Moth and fortify the field, or do you exile even further and kind of continue that exile tribal type theme that we're going for here? We were talking about Broodmoth earlier, and that is quite the card. So I don't blame the think tank situation we have here. Big, big, big crossroad here. Which one is it going to be?
Well, I guess you have to ask, is Ash Lizzle anticipating something in Digitech Wire's hand, like an extinction event or something? How would that affect what she puts onto the field?
When you're playing a creature-based deck, you always need to be aware that an extinction event can happen, and that's when you start looking to your field. How many odds do I have? How many evens do I have? Establishing a board presence and keeping that board presence is going to be very critical in this matchup for Ash Lizzle especially.
But yeah, looking at that extinction event in Digitech Wire's hand, whew, that would take care of both Shades. But Digitech Wire is going to opt to play the Trail of Crumbs and just fight with the Apparition. I guess this line of play makes sense. What do you think?
This absolutely makes sense. Those Shades cannot block. So Digitech trying to establish some line here, and the Wolf is a great way to do it.
So Apparition is going to take out not the Wolf, but the Trail of Crumbs.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind throughout this entire matchup, through this entire set of three, is how much am I willing to sacrifice in order to give myself an advantage? Remember, Extinction Invention could end up costing you your own cards.
Yeah, Digitech Wire is being really patient holding on to that Extinction event. You can only imagine it's because they know that Luminous Broodmoth is in hand.
Yeah, when the entire hand is known, it's pretty easy to make that call. It's what happens when the unknown's going on. But I think right now, Digitech Wire, remember this is open deck list, can make some pretty good guesses as to what might happen.
Another Skyclave Apparition is going to hit the battlefield, taking out the Wicked Wolf. But Ash Lizzle is still facing down a lot of blockers, so...
One thing I really like here is Ash Lizzle is very aware of the odds and evens, keeping the Apparitions, keeping the Shades out. So Ash Lizzle will not lose the entire field should an Extinction event get dropped. This is great awareness of what's going on with the deck list on Ash Lizzle's part.
We're going to see a Wicked Wolf be drawn?
I'm thinking we might see Yorion here. I'm thinking we have the Nightmare and we have the Visionary. I'm thinking there's just too much to be benefited from playing Yorion here. You just go for it.
All right, well, let's see. Looks like you're right. Digitech Wire has decided to just go ahead and play that Yorion. Draw a card, get rid of another creature. Seems good. Seems very classic Yorion.
Classic Yorion and classic Control as well, too. Just, again, a lot of benefits here, and why not? If you're going to play the 80 cards and have Yorion as the companion, this is exactly what it was intended for.
And Maul of the Skyclaves is going to come down.
That's a card.
That's a big old Skyclave shade.
So now if you're in Digitech Wire's position, what can be done there? That Apparition is looking really good right now for that Maul. Just saying.
Yeah. And Ashlysel is running low on resources. Meanwhile, Digitech has a lot. And quite the field to back it up too.
Yeah, that's the advantage of playing Yorion. There's just so much advantage. If you can survive the early game, there's really not a way to keep up with everything that the Yorion, the blanking, and of course the exiling and fighting provides too.
Yeah, at this point, Digitech Wire doesn't even need to cast this extinction event. It doesn't even matter.
No, hanging onto the field here is really important because, again, one thing that some Yorion players I've seen fall short is you have control of the field. Now what? You don't have a way to win the game. You still need to win the game, so that's why you need to be very selective of when you choose to use that extinction event.
Yeah, Digitech Wire cut Ashlysel's life total in half. And all Ashlysel drew is a Blood Chief's Thirst, but that's just not going to do it.
Yeah, when you're playing against Control, you also need to have that much value on the field. If you can't outvalue Control and you're in the mid to late game, there's no way to really catch up at that point.
Yeah, so Ashlysel's running through her options, although they don't look great. Looks like she's going to fire off a Blood Chief's Thirst on the Yorion, buy herself a turn.
Oh,
what a draw. What a punishing draw. Got another Yorion.
I like Ellie's description of that as punishing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it feels like. And then down to 2. And, Digitech Wire is pretty firmly in the seat. We'll see what Ashlysel draws, but it is not good enough. We're going to go to game 2. It looked like Ashlysel really struggled to put up any sort of pressure, especially since Digitech Wire was just picking off her creatures turn by turn. It could not build any momentum there.
Yeah, Digitech didn't even need to use a single extinction event. And I feel like I'm a sham now. That was one of my cards to watch, and it didn't even hit the field, and it didn't even make a factor. I'm so sorry, Digitech. I should have paid attention to a couple of your other cards there. Well done in game 1 here. So we're taking a look at the sideboard options here. Extinction event is staying, it looks like. I believe the real key card on both sides of the coin here, Skyclave Apparition. And I should have seen that coming. Look at the amount of copies between these two players. It's just that much of a swingy card. And one of the best things about it is, unless there's some sort of way to stop the token one way or another, whether or not before it hits the field and confiscates something, it's just, there's so many benefits. And most of the time, also the token can win you the game on one side. It could also just go up against a board wipe or against some removal. Just, again, I think a lot of people overlook Skyclave Apparition. Skyclave Apparition is why White has so many more relevancies in Standard now.
Yes, hear that, all you anti-white mana Magic players? That could have been said so much more awkwardly.
No, I know we know what you meant.
Listen, White has powerful cards. Plains. Anti-plains people.
Yes.
Look at this match.
Remember, basic planes was something we haven't seen in so many months at this point. So, it's like, Ellie, what is this? We see basic planes here. What year is it?
Listen, 2020 was very long. I don't know time anymore. I don't know how it works. I don't know. All I know is, looks like this is another good hand for Digitech Wire. Actually, let's see. I'm looking a little light on mana. Little. Oh, drew land. Perfect. Never punished.
Never was worried for a second.
Never didn't have it. Playing it out. It's all good. We got a 2-drop 3/1. Who's scared? Oh wait, Glass Casket coming to ruin the fun.
Did somebody mention exile? Yes. I think that's the key word in this match here is exile.
All right, so Woe Strider is going to come down to party, and yeah, we're going to see a Visionary. Going to draw a card. Just cruising. Ooh, and a Skyclave Apparition, that very key important card that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and we get to even see a little bit of that Woe Strider in action too. Again, when I think Orzhov, I don't think Woe Strider, but I really like it in Ash Lizzle's deck. I think it is a fantastic addition to this deck. And if something's going to get exiled, you might as well be able to scry anyways. You get, again, a little bit of that value that you might not see otherwise. I like it here with the Shade especially.
Yeah, looks good. What are some of Digitech Wire's options? Got 5 mana and a lot to do with it.
Yeah, you're looking at, you could play the Yorion and just bounce and get a card here. But I think Digitech is thinking, save that for a little bit later in case of an emergency of some kind.
Go with basically the game 1 game plan, like we saw in game 1. It's just pick off the creatures one by one. The 1v1 is basically good enough.
Yeah, just casual apparition there.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Oof. And all Ash Lizzle has is the Agadeem's Awakening, which, since all of her creatures have been exiled, don't do that much. Very important that Digitech Wire got rid of that Woe Strider.
There's so much to consider here. We have a wolf, we have a Doom Foretold, we have a goose. What wolf do you want to play? Yes. There's so much to do here.
Yeah, but Digitech Wire is going to opt to put another Yorion into their hand, and then play Gilded Goose.
I can't comprehend all of this value right now in Digitech Warriors Field. Just they submitted such a very productive deck where every single time a Yorion comes down, there's just so much going on.
Mm-hmm. And it's great in this kind of matchup where you're going against a creature matchup.
So which way, I'm going to use Ellie's word here when it comes to describing control and blink. Which way are we going to punish this turn? Oh my goodness, that's all I'm going to think about now when I see Yorion.
The Punishing Sky Noodle.
That should be its new name.
Man, what a noodle it is. Got some options to blink here.
Yep, the only thing to look out for here, remember that Alseed can still give something protection, so it can protect the Hallowblade. The Hallowblade indestructible may not be a factor here because of the exile, but you can protect it from that, so we'll see what happens.
Yep, looks like Yorion's going to bring back the Goose and the Visionary and the Apparition. What do we think we're going to target with the Apparition?
I think you go with the Alseed here. But you could also target the Hallowblade and make them pay. Make Ash Lizzle pay with the Alseed.
Yep. Looks like either way, creature's gone. Ooh. And Ash Lizzle drew a Skyclave Apparition of her own.
How many of those have we seen across these 2 matches so far?
Yeah. Opting to free up Hallowblade. Interesting.
Yeah, and suddenly the board state is in a really tangled place because those Hallowblades are really difficult to get rid of. The current, any kind of fight scenario won't do it. Needs more exile. Oh!
We have a surprise concession. Perhaps Ash Lizzle was running down the odds and didn't like how they looked for her.
Yeah, That was a defeat by resources. So I always tell folks there's certain ways in which you can win Magic in which you can't even see. One of them is board state, and another one of them is resources. I've actually seen the scoop when you're out of resources in your hand and you're playing a deck, aka not blue, that doesn't replenish those resources really easily. I don't fall to Ashlizzle 1 point. That was a very tough matchup. But GG to Digitech Wire as they improve. Speaking of on the wire, to 3-2. Congratulations, and Digitech Wire very much alive for the playoffs right now. And I believe Ashlizzle as well still has an exemplary record and will still be alive for the playoffs too.
Yep, Ashlizzle picks up her first loss of the season. Still live, still absolutely live for playoffs. No concern there for now. Hoping for a better week 6. Yeah, so let's just like run right into game 2. I mean, that I actually really enjoyed. I really enjoyed that match. It was like you said, it was a resource match. Yorion just has a way of snowballing. We got to see cool Kaldheim cards. It was pretty enjoyable, though. It did feel like it definitely came down to apparition versus apparition. So.
Are you still calling it meatloaf after all of that? All of those compliments you just gave that match?
Okay, see, that's not fair. This is not necessary. Okay, this is like a meatloaf with ketchup, okay, on top or something on top, some sauce on top. You know, the traditional like Yorion Doom Foretold decks that are not really creature heavy. That's the dry ant meatloaf that you want. You know what I'm saying? But this one is like better. It's like seasoned. It's still meatloaf, so you take that as you will, but it got creatures. It's got stuff going on. It's much more exciting.
Well, my compliments to Digitech Wire for that spice of meatloaf, if you will. Let's move on to our next game here.
All right, so we have Jen Krotz on Black-Green Elves. This is a new brew featuring a lot of elves from Kaldheim. What do we think about this list, Allison?
Well, if you wanted new Kaldheim cards, which again, you know, kind of tongue in cheek, but that has very much been the criticism across the board, across players. Here you go. Here is your new stuff here. We have a unity with the elves in the new saga. We have this wonderful 2-drop elf, which provides value. Again, you're going to hear me saying that word a lot. That is what this standard is about. When you are competing against Eldraine cards, you are competing against a fight for value. When you're competing against stuff like Yorion even, you are in a fight for value. And that is one of the cards in which will bring elves value. We also have our lovely new 2-drop elf, which will provide more elf tokens. So we very much have a going wide strategy here. What card stands out to you the most that we may have not seen? You said you were very excited for this deck, Ellie. Why?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Tyvar Kell, the new Planeswalker. It's an elf Planeswalker. It gives all these elves the ability to tap for green mana, giving Jen all the mana she could ever possibly need. So that's cool. I'm excited to see Herald Unites the Elves. Just a lot of really cool cards here. I'm a fan of the elves in like Legacy, and I'm pretty much a fan of the elves in any particular format. So it's cool to see somebody experiment with the elves, and we got a lot of them in this set. So excited to see how Tyvar Kell plays. Things like Realm Walker, I think, is a really interesting card as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, and very spicy sideboard as well. Very good for this type of matchup here, as we have the next deck, which is going to be Esper Foretold Doomskar. Hey, I heard you like control. Well, here is a non-Yorion variant here. And speaking of new Planeswalkers, we do have Nico Aris. I'm very, very, very fascinated to see how this lovely Planeswalker is going to play a factor. We also have, of course, our traditional Ashiok, our traditional Ugin, you know, the types of Planeswalkers you do want to see in control. And again, speaking of control, our new board wipe in Doomskar, we have some Sot Cummings, which, by the way, if you're trying to play a creature-based deck, that is one of the most aggravating like card text to see is Saw It Coming. I think that's up there with Didn't Say Please. What do you think of this deck, Ellie?
I think that I'm excited to see the foretell mechanic play out. It's a cool mechanic. In the words of somebody not quite as famous as me, it's basically kicker. No, I'm just kidding. So it's cool. You get to sort of tuck away the card that might be able to provide you value later on in the game. In this case, one of the big ones in this deck is, of course, Doomscar. Being able to tuck away that Wrath until you're ready to use it seems pretty powerful. Pretty powerful, especially in a matchup against a creature matchup like Elves. So, yeah, why don't we get into the game?
Let's do it.
Now, if my memory serves me correctly, okay, yes. Here we go. We're not going to have hand cams for the entire game. We're going to see the opening hands, but we're not going to see exactly what goes on. But no worries. We're psychic on this channel.
It'll make it good. We'll try to make predictions based on the deck list as to what we might see. It'll be fun. It'll be a little guessing game we can all play together in chat. Let's do this.
All right, so it looks like we got a good mix of land and spells off for Jen. What are we thinking?
That was a good mulligan on Jen's part there. The hand at the beginning, just you were not having a swamp and or black source, so that was very difficult. But thanks to the new and fancy Pathway Kaldheim card, we now have that spice there.
Oh, and look, we get to see Samantha already foretell a card away. And Jen's going to go ahead and play the Elvish War Master, which will generate more elves when another elf hits the battlefield.
So if I'm sitting in Gen C right now and I see that Foretold card, okay, so first of all, if you are playing a creature-based deck and you're not really using a lot of Foretell is really spooky from that perspective, but at least the mana's tapped now.
All right, we're going to see Visionary come down, drawing Jen a card, and making a 1/1. Not bad. Not bad at all. Nice little board off of 2 cards.
So it's time to play everybody's favorite game. Is it Seen It Coming? Is it Doomscar? Or is it both? Everybody get your guesses out in chat right now.
Got 5, looking at 5 damage. Oh. What are Jen's options here?
Well, you could either play the Saga or you could increase the board state. The only thing that frightens me about the board state, it is a commitment, and if you get Doomscarred, if you take a look at Jen's hand right now, there's really no coming back once you lose your initial board. That is always the fear when playing decks that have heavy board wipe in it. This is a very, very, very spooky situation with 3 cards on the Foretell side right now.
Well, Herald Unites the Elves, which is in Jen's hand, could maybe be what Jen is thinking here, since it does bring back an elf from the graveyard onto the battlefield. Maybe. It looks like we're going to see that first Doomscar of the game cast, wiping away all the work that Jen has put into. She would have followed up with that Herald Unites the Elves. Oh, but a Saw It Coming comes, and oh man, that nerfed that plan.
Did you see that coming, Ellie?
I didn't. I didn't want to, which is more key here. I didn't want to. Did not want that.
Is there a more frightening combo for creature-based decks than Doomscar and Saw It Coming all at once?
Yeah, but now Samantha is firmly in the reins here, and unfortunately, Jen is just drawing lands. I'm trying to think, is there any cards that could get Jen out of this situation?
So that's the catch with Elves, right? You are all in on that first board state. You are all in, and after that, Herald Unites the Elves does go a little ways. But after that, it's really difficult to establish that board again. A couple of cards with a heavy board state that might help, especially if you're dealing with mostly spot removal, is that Skempower Avenger I was talking about. The 2-drop, 3/1. Whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. That's what you need against a control deck. You need card draw, and that's one of those rare instances of Golgari being able to draw more cards.
Yeah, and looks like, Samantha's just content to, oh man, is that that's the elf arriving a little too late. Oh
no. A little late to the party, just a tad.
Man. But Samantha's just sitting behind a grip of cards. No fear.
Well,
Oh, and then an Ugin comes down, and I'm afraid the curtains feel like they're closing.
Yeah, any situation with Ugin, you gotta like the double Avenger back-to-back. Had there not been any kind of removal there, that would have been pretty sweet, because again, if one of those dies, you draw 2 cards, and all of a sudden you might be able to gain a little bit of momentum again.
Well, I appreciate Jen not taking this line down. Just got rid of that Ugin with the Blood Chief's Thirst, playing another one. Says, I'm not done. I got 20 life.
Yeah, I appreciate what Jen's doing there. That was the only Ugin.
Yes, indeed. However, Samantha has 2 4/4 angels now, thanks to Amiria's call.
Well, speaking of spooky things, I mean, 2 4/4 angels, which again, one of the weaknesses of Golgari is we don't have a lot of reach lately, right? I mean, 2 flying creatures against a creature-based deck where reach isn't that common. It's going to be pretty difficult here to deal with.
Indeed. That's 8 power just flying there, chilling. Checking the life total, looking scary. Ooh, and Elspeth Conquers Death comes down. Getting rid of that Realm Walker. Smart decision, don't you think?
Yeah, and Samantha is not stopping either. Samantha is still taking this very seriously, looking at resources, thinking about moves. Very, very good to do. Even if it looks like you're going to possibly win the game, it's good to still be able to think through those decisions. You never know when they might be applicable in a future game.
Yep, that's right. Unfortunately, that land's not really going to do much for Jen. She is going to bring Samantha down to 10. This is a very back and forth game 1. But I think Jen's just like, yeah, this game 1 not really working out well for me. Let's go to game 2.
Yeah, that was a very resources heavy game. So I love Jen's attitude here towards the sideboard. It's all right, I'm not going to take it this time. I'm going to try to stop problems before they happen. In come the duress. And that is something you love to see from the creature deck perspective.
Yeah, cutting out the Primal Mites makes sense. You're not really going to, even though Samantha does have, you know, the Angels from Amiria's call, it's just not really worth keeping in. You're not fighting anything. You're more concerned with what, like, dealing with, I guess you're more concerned with dealing with the wraths or the non-creature spells that really slow you down.
Yeah, so again, when you're considering a sideboard against any control deck, if you're a creature-based deck, you have to think what's going to get me the most resources here. That was, unfortunately, a loss based on resources. So we are looking at anything that can draw cards, anything that can recur cards, and then, of course, preventing problems before they happen via the duress.
Ooh, this is quite the one lander. We're gonna ship that right back.
Not bad though. Not bad of an opener here. Not a bad 6. Yeah,
it's a better 6. Cast your spells.
Oh, there you go.
Temple of Madely. Gonna keep that Realm Walker on the top.
So we're looking out, making sure that we can produce elves and draw as many cards as possible. We have the Shapeshifter, which will allow Jen to play creatures from the top of the deck. And again, it's how much damage can you do before the first inevitable, because we're not playing with an 80-card deck, Doomscar. It's going to happen at some point.
All right, Jen has a nice little board here. You know, couple 2/2s, little 1/1, nothing too scary, but a Skyclave Apparition is going to come down and say, no more tokens for you. You're done. We're done with that. But hey, look.
Skyclave
not
Apparition.
out of options.
Are you surprised? I'm not surprised to see Skyclave
This is feeling
Apparition.
very reminiscent to match 1.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes, we get to see the Herald Unites the Elves cast. And look at there. Nothing to see there. Just a little 3/2 coming back straight onto the battlefield. You'll love to see it. I'm really enjoying these sagas. I think their Wizards really has really impressed me with the sagas.
Yeah, I believe a few players were attributing sagas to more fair planeswalkers because they eventually go away. You don't have to swing at them as if they're their own player.
Yeah.
It's really nice to be able to have that. And just, again, pretty fair compared to planeswalkers.
Ooh, looks like Samantha did some foretelling. How do we feel about that? I know I don't like it.
No. Oh, don't. How do you feel about 2? That's 2 of them.
I would be even more nervous, wanting to put on pressure And look at those counters on making this field that was just like a little intimidating to very intimidating. Skyclave Apparition is going to go ahead, just eat that 4 damage.
So at this point, if you are a Jen, you have to be thinking, I don't want to overexert myself. I have to create a board presence, but I don't want to lose my whole board presence and resources.
That Doomstar is going to wipe stuff away. But hey, look. Jen has another Herald in hand. Not all is lost. All hope is not lost.
Nah, and one move that I really like that Jen did here is there is a flash creature. You either can draw the counter spell out, or you get a little nice start to your next board presence post Doomscar 1.
Yeah, very smart play there. All right, we're going to see the Herald King of Skemfar come onto the battlefield.
Yeah, this is a great choice here. You not only get to power up the Preserver, you also gain access to more cards from your deck, which is great. You want to just keep replenishing those resources the best you can here. Ooh, there's a card you like, Ellie.
Hello. I pretty much like all these cards. What do we think Jen takes here?
This is tough. It's a tie between the one and only Tyvar Kell and Skemfar Avenger. Both are correct answers.
Truly, the player is never wrong.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, we're going to see Behold the Multiverse. What on earth could Samantha be digging for?
Oh, gee, I wonder. Something that exiles, something that counters, something that removes, just something that's going to make Jen's life that much more difficult.
Yeah, Jen has done a much better job, has been able to do a much better job pressuring Samantha's life total this game.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely. Again, we see that dual board presence too, which is really nice.
Blood Chiefster's going to take care of at least one of those creatures. That Wildburn Preserver hits the graveyard.
And the train doesn't stop here for Jen. Look at everything that's available here. The only catch is only one thing can be played per turn right now, because most of the things in Jen's hand are a little more expensive now.
Yeah. And it looks like Tyvar Kell's going to come onto the battlefield, which is nice, because you know it gets around a Doomscar, a Planeswalker. That could make you creatures. Feels good.
Let me be the first to welcome Tyvar Kell to the VML stage and arena. It's happy. It's very, very happy, and we're very awesome to have you here. Hopefully it lasts on the field a little further than a couple turns. Again, remember that Bloodchief's Thirst probably works in both directions, and it is Planeswalker removal.
But it's your favorite, Skyclave Apparition, coming to snatch that Tyvar Kell's wig. Done with that nonsense.
Well, that was short-lived. That makes me sad. I was pretty happy looking at Tyvar Kell. What is there not to like about Tyvar Kell? I suddenly feel sad.
You're telling me. You're telling me. We're going to see Jen rebuild her board. Makes all of the sense here. No reason to swing, obviously. You just got a little 1/1. Hoping, I guess we're just hoping our board survives to next turn.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking through that, you know that there's one card. You're looking for the Doomscar at this point. I mean, 2 cards left in hand. You've almost weathered the Elf Storm. Although this, I believe, what is this, the 3rd wave by this point? Jen just being very persistent about keeping a board state and doing the right thing here.
Ooh, hello, Elspeth Conquers Death. Ruining the party as always.
Yes, and suddenly we go from 4 lands to many lands, and that's not something you want to see in this matchup.
But hey, Jen has the option to either snatch away that Skyclave Apparition or play a Herald Unites Elves. Well, look at that. How do we feel about this play, Allison?
This is a tough one, because you could either destroy the apparition, but the plus is if you don't directly destroy the apparition, if Doomscar happens, you get a really nice looking 4/4 token on the field. after all of that. And if you notice, Samantha's life is kind of dwindling a little bit. So a 4/4 token possibly after a board wipe is kind of spooky. I like the Unites the Elves here. It creates menace, which is something that will be able to swing through just the apparition alone. And you say, okay, you doomscar me and you give me the 4/4, or you have to deal with my entire field and possibly try to resort to spot removal. I really like what Jen did here.
It looks like Jen's going to continue to pressure the life total here.
Nice swing choice here, too, by Jen. Again, not providing that option to get rid of the apparition and make the Doomscar that much more appealing.
I mean, what are Samantha's options?
Samantha's options are look for a Doomscar. You're going to get a little bit of benefit off the Elspeth Conqueror's death. On the bright side, if you have to give up because your life total is dwindling that much, if you have to give up something, you give up the apparition before ECD goes off, and then you can get it back onto the field and confiscate another thing, something that's not a 4/4 at least.
Oh, Skyclave apparition, you're so good. Ooh, Samantha's going to follow it up with another Elspeth Conqueror's death and an extinction event. Oh, man. That is a brutal, brutal turn of events for Jen.
Yeah, I said we were looking for Doomscar. I didn't say anything about extinction event possibly being that powerful of a card right now, but there it is.
Well, you know, a Wrath is a Wrath is a Wrath.
Yes.
All right, we got a 4/4 back. Maybe we might still be in this, except we also might be seeing that Skyclave apparition come back.
Yes, the only catch is the Skyclave apparition cannot take the token, but it can take that saga.
Does she want to?
Nah.
Forget about it. Skyclave apparition probably acting more as a blocker.
Yeah, and it is worth noting as well that is a Castle Locthwain that is on Jen's side of the field. Again, another card you want to see, especially when you have 18 life. You pretty much have 2 draws a turn now, which is really nice in this scenario if you're in Jen's position.
Ooh. Gonna Heartless Act that little token.
Yeah, I like how Samantha's hanging on right now, just taking a look at all options possible. That ECD is going to go off. We get something out of the yard, but let's see. It's another apparition.
I believe those are the only creatures in Samantha's deck. Or in Samantha's graveyard.
Ooh, we have a Foretell.
Okay, we get a set of cards here. We got some cards. We're gonna play. We got a Wildwood Tracker.
And the key part to what you say here is cards plural. Again, that cards being very important. Cards
Indeed.
Plural.
Yeah, you make a very good point. It's super important when you're the aggressive deck to be able to recover somehow, recover through, Doomscars, Wraths, things like that.
Now there's a little bit of a think here.
Assad coming is going to take care of that Skemscar. We're gonna have that's just word soup for me. The Avenger. It's just too hard of a word for me to say. I will practice in the mirror later.
Word soup. You just described a lot of Kaldheim, just period, with all the text on all the cards.
I don't know what the test name for Kaldheim was, but it should be something in regards to soup because my God, every card has all of the text. I felt like I was back in school again, looking through this set. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know.
It's like questing beasts, the set. There's just so much, and just when you think you're over, there's even more.
Yeah, Jen is in a really tough position here. What kind of cards do you think Jen's going to be hoping for? Oh, that's a good one.
I'd say something that creates creatures, something that draws cards, something that creates some kind of contingency for a board wipe. Meanwhile, if you're Samantha, you're probably just looking at this point for one way to handle the Planeswalker. Your creatures are big enough now. You just need to get rid of the Tybar Kel.
Samantha, counting her mana.
There's something
evaluating the board in the tank.
I take it back. There's one card that is really interesting if Samantha draws. Amaria's Call. Being able to establish that board presence in the air would be pretty good right now.
Looks like we're going to see Nico be cast.
Oh.
Well, and a lot of shards were just made. And for people who are not as familiar, Nico Eris comes down, makes a shard, which is an enchantment token that you can pay to sacrifice its scry, and then draw a card. Super powerful. Just got a way to refill the tank.
We were talking about in the pre-show, taking a look at Samantha's deck together. We're like, what can Nico Eris do? Well, here is the answer to that question. This is really interesting.
Indeed. I mean, that's like 5 cards in hand. This is a very good late game.
Very, very good late game. And again, Control needs those answers because, believe it or not, yes, Control can run out of gas. Contrary to popular belief, this can happen eventually.
I mean, it's not happening right now.
No.
And it could make the Skyclave apparitions unblockable, right?
Yes. We also have this Visionary right here.
Jen's got to look for something.
More cards.
More cards. But which cards? Not lands. Something to deal with Nico Eris. Well, has the damage been done with that many shards put on the battlefield?
Those shards are going to be tough to recover from, and I'm glad you asked that question. There's just it's too much right now. It's so much, and I think Nico Eris may be one of the few, if not the only, I'd have to look this up, X value planeswalkers. You don't get to see this too often.
Yeah, you don't really get to see a lot of X value planeswalkers. You got to see the blue-green Nissa back from, I don't know if it was the previous Zendikar set. Not the most recent one, the one before that one.
BFC, I think.
Yeah, that one was a weird one.
Yeah. That may be why I forgot about that one, because I was trying to think. I knew there was at least one other one, and I couldn't remember. It's like, wait, there was a Nissa and BFC? Yes, that one.
Oh, yes. Simic Nissa and Hour and Amonkhet in that block, I think. I think that's right, actually. Chat knows what's up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Appreciate that.
All right, looking at Samantha has 5 cards in and another Ugin. Ooh, this is a brutal turn of events. You can start ticking up or ticking down. Probably ticking up.
So this one is very memorable. Ugin out of Fate Reforged. I cannot believe they reprinted Ugin. I still, months later, cannot believe they reprinted Ugin.
Hey, but look. Jen drew that Blood Chasers. Maybe the second Ugin is going to meet the same fate as the first. But we got mana on tap, so maybe something happens, maybe nothing.
Yeah, nothing in Foretell right now. Ooh!
Looks like Ugin's just going to hit the bin. All right. Not really the best.
For a late game board state, this is really complicated. Very, very, very complicated. No move on the elf there. Jen anticipating, well, there must be another board wipe coming up soon.
Perhaps. And Samantha still has 2 shards left that she can use. Oh, make that 3. Gonna play an extinction event and swinging in for 5. Jen's gonna come down to 3 and maybe this buys her a turn. More Master and an Elf, right?
Get one more draw.
That just does not do it, unfortunately.
That was a very good game, by the way. Great job on both Samantha and Jen's part.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Really enjoyed seeing those 2 decks play it out. As you mentioned before, just the way that the control decks can stop and kind of stop any kind of slower aggro deck in its tracks. Doomscar, Extinction Patrol, tons of board wipes, tons of removal. Really hard to recover, even though, Black and Elves almost got there. Almost got there. So pretty great game too. Congratulations to both players. I believe Jen is 0-5, and Samantha, I believe, is 3-3.
Yeah, and as you said, it is possible for X3s to get in still. So Samantha, don't give up. There's still some hope. Also, one last thing before we exit this conversation. Ellie, you know I got to ask you this.
Yes.
Nico Aris, thoughts now after we've seen it?
Like Nico. I like Nico. Nico was great late game. Great card late game. As we saw, was able to refill Samantha's hand. Super awesome for her. She was able to pretty much get through that parity, break through with the help of Nico, making basically an extra card. So that was awesome. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, hello. Welcome to the VML. We are in week 5 of 6 before we head to the playoffs. This is a tournament series for marginalized genders. It's a really important part of the community, in my opinion. I'm so glad that we have it. This season is particularly special because it is sponsored. It's brought to you in part by the NRG series, and also Wizards of the Coast is sponsoring us. They are the reason why the winner of this series gets to go to the Kaldheim Championship. Super important. The prize pool, $3,000, and then more for everybody else. It's awesome. So I'm super excited, and I believe winner also gets a year of CFB Pro. So super important. There is very meaningful things on the line for these players. So excited to cover it, get to watch them do the thing. So we just got finished with match 2 of the night, which was Black Green Elves against an Esper Control featuring a lot of Foretell cards. Got to see how that works. So we are ready to go into match 3.
Let's do it. And this is everybody get comfy. We're in Division 8 here. This may be a wild one here. Yeah. And we have, go ahead.
We got an Abzan Midrange list from Rihanna. This is kind of similar to Digicheck Wire's list a little bit. You got Elspeth Conquers Death, you got green cards, you got white cards, you got black cards. They're all doing their thing. It's actually interesting. You get to see a lot of adventure creatures here. You get to see Kaya. What do we think about this deck, Allison?
A little less meatloaf with ketchup and a little more adventures. So this is
pretty exciting. This is pretty spicy.
Yeah, I would categorize this deck as Abzan Adventures here. Oh, hey, look, for Edgewall Innkeeper. Right away, I say, okay, this is an Adventures build here.
There we go.
We have Shepherd of the Flock, a newcomer. It's been around for a while, but did you know it existed as an adventure? Keep an eye out for Usher to Safety. It is a deadly combo when paired with Murderous Rider because that gives you access to more destruction on the field. Just in case we're not going to see it here, just in case for that rogue matchup, we have the one Polychronos. We have also another Planeswalker. Oh my gosh, we're going to see all of the Planeswalkers here. Hopefully, Kaya now makes an appearance in this deck. Very excited to see where that goes. And of course, even though there's no Yorion, still Binding of the Old Gods because it's just that broken of an uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there to blow up a permanent, right? We're just like, yep, coming in, shooting the finger guns, blowing something up. Very good. I'm sure it'll get more than one blocker out of the way. I'm excited to see. Hello, Polychronos, an oldie but a goodie, but a baddie, I guess would be more accurate. A baddie. So in the sideboard, I see we got a Vivian, got some more Elspeth Conquers Death, the Big Pig Yasharn, like that, and some Skyclave Shades. So it looks like we're going to be throwing hands, drawing cards and throwing hands is what this deck tells me it wants to do. Let's see the opponent here. Coming in, Lady of the Crease, whose birthday was this week, by the way. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Coming in with Big Red, Big Red. Look at all them snow-covered mountains. Look at all that. We got 4 Ugins. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And almost an unheard amount. Would love to see it. An Ironcrag Feet, generating a lot of mana. We got some ramp. Got some things to pick off. We got drawing cards. We're doing it. We're doing it. Big red. big red.
Yeah, this deck really does it all. 2 hidden threats to look out for during this match, in addition to the Ugins, the Goldspan Dragons, the Bone Crusher Giants, the things we know that are a threat. Keep an eye out for the Crawling Barrens, and of course, our new land that can animate, the Faceless Haven, which comes with our snow-covered lands here. It doesn't look like much. That card will win more matches than you think, and it's so easy when you're swinging against it to miss the fact it's 4/3, it's Vigilance. You can swing with it, and then you can use it to cast something. Keep an eye out for Faceless Haven during this. And then, of course, we have our typicals here. A lot of cards that either defend early, like Frostbite, produce value, little mid-game Ox of Agonis. This deck has a little something for everyone. The side deck being really spicy here for Robber the Rich in there. We get our new Dwarf Berserker Magna Brazen Outlaw, creating treasure tokens for some ramp. And again, is there anything that this deck can't do? I thought this was only one color.
Listen, red, believe it or not, is a versatile color. It does things. It can do more than just swing. It can ramp. It can do things. We like to see it. What do we expect this matchup is going to look like?
So you're going to see a pretty explosive early game from the Abzan Midrange deck. We're going to see probably Innkeepers, Lovestruck Beasts. We have the Murderous Riders. We're going to be seeing all of that early. If red can stabilize, all of a sudden, how will Abzan handle those late game threats from red? If you see the Snow Big Red deck go above about 5, 6, 7 mana, watch out. It's going to be a really scary time for the Abzan deck.
All right, well, let's jump in and see what's up.
All right, it's a good opener.
Yep, we're going to see. Now these are not the correct players who are playing, but no worries. These are the right hands. This is Lady of the Crease up top with Big Snow Red. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Except for that double Innkeeper. I don't know about that one, Ellie. That one looks suspicious to me.
Yeah. So we're gonna play the Kazandu Mammoth. We like that. Oh, and it's gonna get immediately bitten by that Seer. Also, I appreciate the playback speed. I thought our producer was kidding when they said that they were playing this at 1.4.
No, it's definitely there. I didn't see it.
Ooh, wow. Moving pretty quickly here. We got 2 Psalms Malacrims and a Maze Mind Tome.
Ooh, and that is a great henge.
Great henge coming down. Pluckner's making it very, very cheap, giving more access to green. What do we expect Rihanna to be doing here?
Well, first of all, I think this should be called the best henge. You know, I think great doesn't cover it here. Henge. We're going to see 2 Innkeepers come down for a possible draw 2. But first, the swing.
Well, does Rihanna want to swing here?
It's a good question.
I guess so. But you know what this means, right?
No, you tell me.
You're the expert. No, I'm just kidding.
There's a card draw. I was going to say you're the play-by-player too. I thought you were going. I thought there was a bit with that. No, there will be a card draw. There will be. It looks like a fight instead here too. Okay, Ellie's right. I am the expert. I should have talked about the fight.
I'm just
going on here too. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
It was a bit actually. It was a bit.
The best henge will have to wait here. Totally reasonable on the fight here. Now I said, watch out for those snows. There it is.
Yeah, that thing bringing it. We're gonna be swinging, bringing him down. Let's see. We got some options here, right?
Yep, we have Innkeepers versus Vivian here.
Well, she's gonna play the Vivian. Recover the board a little bit here.
I like the choice here from Rihanna to just kind of hold back, because again, we are getting into that very, oh my gosh, there can be huge things that fall on my head and devastate my board. So good call here by Rihanna to just kind of mellow out, let the threats come, and we'll see what happens after that.
All right, we're going to have not one, but two faceless Havens coming in.
Ooh.
One's going to go to the Vivian. Sent both there. I wonder if we had a little foreseeing.
Yeah, there is some great value here associated with that play yet again. Not only do you get rid of a threat on the field, you also get rid of a land, which again, lands are going to be very key here for Lady of the Crease. So good call here by Rihanna again, holding back. And now we just get this massive amount of draw here as well.
Yeah, I think how many cards is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards? Now it's going to be 6, 7, 8? Goodness. What a way to reload.
Oh, this game's making me eat my words right now. I was going to say the best henge, and now we have another henge in hand.
Oh, well, there's an Ugin coming down, so don't get too down in the in the dirt. That Ugin is going to wipe away, but that great henge is still there.
It sure is, and now we get a chance to see probably a little bit of saga action here. Ugin looks like a threat until you have, look at this, we have Elspeth Conquers Death here, we have Binding the Old Gods. There's a lot of ways to deal with threats right now coming from Rihanna.
Yeah, Rihanna has a lot of ways to recover here with that Great Henge drawing her cards.
So I guess the question we have to ask ourselves now is Ugin, you don't ask this too often, that's why this is important, is Ugin going to be enough to cover all of these threats? The Great Henge just keeps creating them.
Yeah, because it can't come down and immediately get rid of the Great Henge, right? I believe 7 and Great Henge is 8.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like Ugin can come down and wipe it away.
But, oh, just not taking a chance there with that.
But, I mean, do we think... But I think Rihanna still looks to be in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, I would agree.
Old Gods is just going to take out that Ugin. Ugin's basically acting like an 8-mana Wrath, which isn't quite good enough in this situation, right?
Yeah, I can't keep up with this right now. There's just spells flinging in every which way here with the henge. It's so like, my goodness, this game is moving as fast as a mono red game would be moving here. And you know what? That fits the theme. I appreciate that.
Except in this case, are we going to see a dragon come down? I love that dragon. What a great, great card. But unfortunately, it's going to meet a swift end. She's going to get a treasure token, so all is not necessarily lost.
Yeah, absolutely. There is still the 2 Maze-Mind tomes here and a Bone Crusher here, but when the threats keep coming and you see the Polukranos in the yard, that is something that you should be directing your eyes to and keeping an eye on during this game. That could be the thing that does it for Rihanna here. Keep an eye on that card.
Yeah, Bone Crusher Giant going to come down, take care of the little token. Lovestruck Beast can't swing. It's like a funny non-bow with a Great Henge. It pretty much prevents any 1/1 from ever hitting the battlefield, so it can't swing.
I appreciate that term, a non-bow.
A non-bow, you know. You know. All right, Solemn Simulacrum's coming down. What are we thinking Lady of the Crease needs?
So you're probably going to want to draw cards with those tomes now. Unfortunately, you will have to pay for both of those first, but you're just going to be drawing cards and looking for answers. At 24 life, that isn't such a bad strategy, and once those both tick up to 4, you will gain an additional 4 life per each tome.
And we have a lot of potential damage coming Lady of the Crease's way. I think with all the life Rihanna's gained, it's not really concerned with taking 2 off of the Bone Crusher Giant. And we're going to draw some more cards.
Yep, that's all Rihanna's doing is drawing cards.
Ooh, and a Binding of the Old Gods, too. Another one.
Oh, my goodness. That's what happens with the Great Henge. It just starts coming and it don't stop coming, and just repeat that.
Yeah, just keeps on snowballing. I just think it's super incredible that Ugin just sort of got really outdone here, like very decisively.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's how busted the Great Henge is. That's how broken in half Throne of Eldraine is. It makes Ugin look like not a big deal.
Yeah, in this matchup, we can treat Ugin as basically a board wipe here, right? But like the Henge is just
enough.
Yeah, and the Henge is just going to keep creating boards. It's not like in the previous matchup where if you wipe the board, the kind of more control-y deck had a little more going for it.
All right, we're going to see an Ox of Agonis. Didn't really get anything too spicy off it, though. Maybe off of the next one?
Well, we've had one, but what about second Ox of Agonis?
You can never have too many oxes. Oxen. Oxes? Oxen. I'm going to say oxen.
I like oxen. Yeah.
I like it too.
Looks like there's going to be a little bit of removal going on here.
Yeah, we do have 7 mana floating on the part of Lady of the Crease.
A little bit of
what are the threats that we're most concerned about?
That's a great question. It's not the Lovestruck Beast because that can't attack due to the Nambo.
Looks like Shatterskull Smashing is going to take care of 2 creatures.
And that's a land you're not upset to draw because, again, that produces even more cards. All right, here we go. I said to keep an eye on it.
Hello, Pelucanos. This is quite the book. You know what? Why not? Let's just swing this Edgewall Innkeeper into his Ox, because why not? Of course it is. Why not? Sure.
Yeah, that's the weakness of the Ox. Only 2.
And a Scavenging Ooze? Ooh. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling.
About what?
I have a feeling that we're not going to see those Ox come back.
Oh, yes, Scavenging Ooze being a pretty big factor here, cutting off the draw here from the, we'll call it the more control-y deck of this matchup. It's going to make things really difficult here on Lady of the Crease.
Yeah, now Rihanna's just sitting behind so much power. What a board. What a board. Lady of the Crease has a lot of work if she hopes to recover here. And I think it honestly just starts with getting rid of the Great Henge.
What about getting rid of Pelucranos?
Ubi's not bad. Getting rid of Pelucranos, not bad. Exiling it seems good.
Ugin comes back and is like, did you forget about me? Did you say I wasn't that good? Did you say I was medium? Clears that whole board right back out.
I did say that, Ugin. I did say that. I did say that. I meant that, though.
You can mean it.
This binding the old gods is going to make it look washed again. How many times can we take this insult?
Well, that's the point, right? Like, Ugin's one of the most powerful cards you can play in current standard, and here comes an uncommon. It's just going to roll right over it, and now you're making me question things, and I don't want to do that now.
Listen, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know. This is definitely a very interesting back and forth. We're going to play a lot of creatures, get them wiped, play a lot of creatures, get them wiped. Not a lot of pressure coming down. A ton of cards are being drawn.
Yeah, I can't even call Rihanna's deck an aggro deck anymore. This is like almost mid-control from what this looks like right now. This deck is performing very similar to Yorion, but how is that the case? Yorion's not in the deck, and the deck runs Innkeepers. This makes... I cannot understand what's going on with that. This is a wild deck from Rihanna. All
right, so Lady of the Crease draws a mountain and a... Sails not really good enough here.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that second Great Henge, it would definitely be a very interesting draw, but we're looking at the other Great Henge now in Rihanna's hand, and as you said, it's just not going to be enough at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, you answer one, but so many cards have been drawn. Of course, there's going to be another one.
Ooh.
Bouncing. Ew.
Ellie does not like this. Film at 11.
Oh, God.
I don't like this tweet because I'm in it.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh.
Stop. They're already dead. No, I'm just kidding.
No. You're good. You're good.
All right. So, yeah, it looks like Rihanna's going to be swinging 12 damage this turn. And we're going to see a Kaya the Inexorable come in and do her thing. That's a Shatter Skull smashing. So Lady of the Crease, not out. I kid. Not out of it.
The ghost form token in particular is very difficult to deal with at this point. It would take another Ugin in exile to fully deal with it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So if and when Lady of the Crease does fire off that Shatter Skull smashing, that Scavenging Ooze is going to go right back to Rihanna's hand.
But here comes the hidden threat from Lady of the Crease's deck. This is one of the things I really liked about her deck. You have the not only do you have the Snowland, you still have that Crawling Barrens, which can be huge, and just randomly swing in for a ton of damage out of nowhere. Keep an eye on that card.
Yeah, wow. Look at the way Lady of the Crease refills her hand, gets a Goldspan Dragon, a couple more pieces of removal. Not bad. Going to bring that Kaya down to 2. Make a treasure, which I believe these treasures produce 2 mana when you sacrifice them, not 1. So extra value.
Yeah, one thing I really adore about Lady of the Crease's deck is every single time you think you have it cornered, it comes back. Both Oxes removed, no problem. 2 Ugins removed, no problem. The resiliency behind Lady of the Crease's deck is awesome, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing 2 very resilient decks go head to head. Both of them have very powerful cards, and it's going to be a back and forth game. All right, so what? Looks like we're going to see some removal on this turn.
Yep. Lady of the Crease just doing the math here, making sure that everything that needs to go down goes down here. I believe you can hit Planeswalkers also with Shatter Skull summonings, and maybe Lady of the Crease is having a think about that as well. Pretty good thing too, considering the situation.
Shatter Skull smashing does indeed hit Planeswalkers as well. So it has some options, like you said, on what she can take out.
Ooh.
Choosing to just blow the creatures away. Look at that Shepherd of the Flock. You know what that Shepherd of the Flock can do in the hand? It could bounce that Binding the Old Gods again. I'm just saying.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I'm just no. That's just an option, right?
We've seen enough of that. Oh, my goodness. Are we going to see it?
I don't know.
Are we going to see it again?
Maybe.
No, not yet.
You got to get the value out of it. Looks like there's no more forest cards in the deck.
You know a match has gone long when.
Oh, God. When you say fail to find. We'll just fail to find. Okay, what do we think Rihanna's looking for?
I think we're going to see eventually another henge play. I don't know if we're going to see it necessarily right now. Looking at that Shepherd. Oh, no. It's
Ellie, happening. It's happening.
No.
I told you.
Oh, my goodness.
I bet the first time you do that, you're just like, you're hooked. You're just like, yes, this is what this is why these cards are printed at the same time. So I could do specifically this interaction.
Why is Binding an uncommon? I feel like Herald Unites the Elves should have been the uncommon, and Binding should have been the rare.
It's so good. You'll love to see it. Scavenging Ooze is going to come down along with the Shepherd of the Flocks. It's going to take out some worrisome, I guess, creatures out of the graveyard. But what are Lady of the Crease's options from this point?
Well, there's always Ugin, and more Ugin. There's still, I believe, a pair left. You also have that Crawling Barrens again. That is a kind of timer almost. It doesn't look like much right now, but it could add up.
Yeah, looks like Lady of the Crease is going to send that Crawling Barrens to Kaya. And goes for the double block here, which seems not bad. What do you think?
No, this is fantastic here. The only thing is the Crawling Barrens does die, but we still have the 2 Snowlands here. And we're seeing some after effects from the Ghost token as well. See those 1/1s hit the field? Kaya just proving to have, you typically see Kaya hit the field right now, and it's -3, exiling stuff, good. But that, don't discount the plus there on Kaya. It's really powerful.
Oh, that Great Henge coming down. Oof. And that puts a ghost form counter on. Did you put a ghost form counter on something?
I do not believe so. I think if it's on a token, it can't return to the hand anyway. So I think Kaya just did Kaya
just plus it and said, nah, forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
So we got 2 of those Barons. Lady of the Crease is definitely determined. Kaya is a problem, needs to go, but Giant Killer is going to take care of one of them.
Yeah, and there'll probably be a block here on the other. Still holding on to that Shepherd of the Flock in that, what if we see another Ugin and we need to bounce the binding yet again? Is that going to happen? That's, yeah.
This is never going to stop. This is things are happening. I'm losing my ability to speak.
Now, it is important to note that you can also use Shepherd to bounce Shepherd. So if you ever need like a chain of spells to go off, if there's some kind of combo that it says, per so many spells, that's also another thing to be considered down the road.
All right, we got a Frostbite draw from Lady of the Crease.
Relevant question here. How many cards are left in each deck, Ellie? That's something I've been trying to see if we can figure out.
I gave up.
You gave up?
There's no way. No, we've seen like freaking 30 cards drawn. I have no idea. Ask me a question I can answer. I don't know what's happening.
I just thought I'd ask if there was a mouse over the deck that I didn't see. I was just
all right. What's the over under on one of these players decking themselves?
Well, I'd say the Henge player is probably decking themselves, considering that Ox of Agonis was gone to scavenging. It was quite a few turns ago.
Well, lucky for the Henge player, they have a lot of pressure. All right, Frostbite is going to take out the Giant Killer, leaving a 4/2 on the battlefield.
You know what I'm going to do during this? I'm going to read Kaya's ultimate again, just in case. Cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from among cards you own in exile. That seems pretty good right now. That seems...
Could be.
Yeah, not bad.
All right, we're going to have a Shatter Skull Smashing, take care of the Shepherd of the Flock, but it's just going to go right back to Rihanna's hand. But that Kaya does hit the graveyard. It's very important there.
Yeah, suddenly, I mean, yes, Rihanna's sitting on 44 life, but suddenly it looks like Rihanna's running out of things to defend themselves with.
Well, yeah. The Great Henge, though, can draw cards.
Looking at those Snowlands.
Looking at them Snowlands, putting in the work, just like you said. Going to be having an attack for 8, but Giant Killer's going to take care of one of them.
Yeah, I guess that's something to consider. These lands cannot be targeted by binding.
That's right. Yeah.
At least not as easily, I should say. Like, most of the time, they're not going to be animated when binding can go off.
Right. Okay, we have a Bone Crusher Giant also going to hit the battlefield, so that can be targeted by Binding the Old Gods. We got another Giant Killer. So
yeah, at this point.
Answers are being drawn.
You can't help but wonder, are the Giant Killers going to be more hurtful here by drawing cards? I mean, you have to draw cards eventually, but that's something we're thinking about as we're seeing the mid to final phase of this game.
Well, Rihanna decided needs to be able to continue to pressure the life total, so you gotta cast those creature spells.
Yeah,
how do we like this Murderous Rider?
That is a fantastic play. The Bone Crusher Giant fizzles as a result here. And now we have another Murderous Rider possibly on the precipice here. Things looking really good late game here for Rihanna.
All right.
Oh, there we go. There's a rough. Did you count? Did you get a count on those cards?
I didn't. It happened too fast for me. Too fast for me. All right, Murderous Rider is going to come down. Got some more pressure.
Now,
Oof.
there are still 2 Ugins left in Lady of the Crease's deck. I cannot mention that enough. That's something that's really, really dangerous at this point.
But that's not an Ugin. That's not quite enough. That would stop the left check beast from swinging.
Yes, it does buy some time, absolutely. So now we just have these little tiny creatures that could be the decider.
But that's still lethal on the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. You love to see it.
The plot thickens again.
You love to see it.
The resiliency of Lady of the Crease's deck just keeps arising in this matchup. What a game we have here so far, folks.
Yeah, very back and forth. I would just be swinging in for 2. Let's not risk it. Let's say not worry about it.
No, you want to have as many turns as possible now.
We're going to play this Murderous Rider, draw another card. Okay.
This is nerve-wracking right now. There are so many different things that can happen here.
Oh! Yeah, we're going to bounce the Great Henge.
That might be able to do it for Rihanna. What a play there, considering now you don't have to worry about drawing too many cards. But speaking of which, Castle Lochthwain.
And that is going to do it for game 1. Very back and forth, really good, really exciting game. A lot of pressure from Rihanna, and then Lady of the Crease being able to stop it. But that last one wasn't able to draw the answer that was needed. Great Henge really made that a game.
Yeah, and bounce, like, when you get to the point where you have to bounce your own Great Henge to potentially save yourself, you know you have a good game when that happens. And again, with the remaining 2 Ugins lurking, Rihanna just could not afford to be sitting there for all those turns because you could only play so many more creatures after that had that Henge been able to stay on the field.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at the sideboards here. Looks like Rihanna's trimming a little bit of removal. But most of all, I don't know. Do we think her game plan changes at all in game 2?
I don't think so. I think you get the Henge out early. I think you draw as many cards as you can as soon as possible to be able to deal with Lady of the Crease. Right now, it all depends on there's a couple things. Can Rihanna get out quickly? If not, can Rihanna withstand the force behind those Ugins? And now we're looking at the side deck here. If you're Lady of the Crease, maybe you consider a couple other aggro cards here. You see this ooze there. So Lady of the Crease cutting the Oxes there. Cutting down on some Maze Mind Tomes. We may be seeing a few more critters here. We see a Storm's Wrath and a Crow in War. Mm-hmm. And I think the second match is going to be even more wild than the first if the sideboards are any indicator of it.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's a lot of removal. A lot of sweeps on Lady of the Crease's side.
Yeah, Lady of the Crease is respecting the Scavenging Ooze, saying, you know what? I don't want to lose all of that value again. So what if I put some pretty hefty 4-drops out there?
Okay. Looking at the hands here. What do you think about this hand from Rihanna?
It's a pretty good opener here. You have everything you need. You have an Innkeeper, you have a Lovestruck Beast, you have the Shepherd of the Flock, we have Binding again, which I just looked at.
Yeah, Frostbite's going to take care of that early token. It very, I guess, makes sense to hold that Edgewall Innkeeper back in hindsight.
Yeah, Mono Red especially can have a lot of early removal. We see that from the Frostbite as played earlier, so very much respectable decision there.
Looking at Lady of the Crease's hand, we definitely, like we were talking about, see Storm's Wrath, Ironcrag Feet, and an Ugin. How do we think that affects this game?
So this is going to be This is going to be an early Ugin. I'm glad you mentioned the Ironcrag feat. The only thing is you do need one more red source to make that work. That is triple red. So we won't see Ugin for a little while longer, although...
It might just be next turn, actually, because that Solemn Simulacrum is going to get that third red source that we were talking about. And there's a Great Henge, which was the bane of Ugin's existence last game. And doesn't look like Lady of the Crease has an answer for it just yet.
Yeah, I would be a little nervous right now otherwise, but guess what? We see our Shepherd with Binding of the Old Gods, or Double Shepherd, or Usher to Safety in this case, with Binding of the Old Gods. I would expect to see that card quite a bit in the next few turns. Just a little bit of a hunch.
All right, so Lady of the Crease is going to cast that Ironcrag feat, giving her 7 mana, enough to cast the Ugin. Looks like I feel a sweep coming in.
Yeah, here comes everybody's favorite 4-drop of the format. Binding of the Old Gods makes another appearance.
Yeah, Binding of the Old Gods going to take care of that Ugin. Rihanna's going to opt just to not play a creature at all. Which, well, now we know why. Playing a Shepherd of the Flock. Ooh, and that Goldspan Dragon's going to do some work. Swinging for 4, making a treasure token.
You know what else is going to do work?
Yeah.
Binding.
Oh, God. You're right. It's deja vu.
I feel like we're looking at nothing but aberrations and Binding of the Old Gods tonight. That's it. That's all we got.
That's all right. So we got Binding of the Old Gods probably going to come down again. But now we're going to start drawing some cards. Just drawing some cards with a Great Henge. It's a very nice position, I would imagine, for Rihanna.
Agreed. And yeah, you want to start drawing cards because the more you see lands accumulate in your hand, the more that's an indicator, I better start drawing cards because I might not have some of these cards in my possession come the next turn. So great foresight there by Rihanna.
Yeah, and Lady of the Crease has gonna swing in? What? Swing in with the Solemn. No fear.
You gotta respect that move. Again, that Henge is going to be giving 2 life to Rihanna with every subsequent turn. Oh yeah, by the way, if Henge wasn't good enough, now you gain life every turn on top of that.
Yeah, and we got to keep in mind that Lady of the Crease also has a Storm's Wrath that she can sit behind. But Peluknos Unchained is going to hit the battlefield. Very big boy. Followed up by Heart's Desire. Yeah, and a Love Struck Beast. Refilling, getting even more cards to take. Not really refilling here. We're just going to continue this great path of drawing a ton of cards. Once again, Great Henge is showing us that how powerful it is. But sick draw from Lady of the Crease. We got another Ugin.
Are we going to see Ugin get the revenge on Binding? Will we see -4? Which I think we will because of Peluknos as well. Oh, there it goes.
All right. Murderous Strider is going to take care of Ugin. Mammoth is going to hit the field. I mean, what do we think? I mean, and Lady of the Crease still just has that Storm's Wrath. I mean, what else what card does she need here?
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but probably Ugin. Whenever you question and you have 8 cards on board, what do I need? Ugin is a pretty good catch-all to stuff, but Ugin, as it shows, really one of the big weaknesses is can't keep up with the Binding of the Old Gods, can't keep up with Great Henge here, and Rihanna's Abzan deck is very much exposing that at this point.
Yeah, I would imagine, so Shepherd of the Flock is going to bounce the Murderous Rider, leaving some doors open. We're going to see a Faceless Haven swing here? Looks like it.
Oh, yeah. And why not?
Why not?
And as I thought, here comes the Vivian. Now you see the one Storm's Wrath already, and it's like, okay, maybe this is going to be safe here, but we're taking a look at that Shatter Skull in Lady of the Crease's hand. One thing I really, really, really like about Lady of the Crease's deck list, other than its resiliency, is the fact it does have potential to take care of Planeswalkers thanks to stuff like Shatter Skull Smashing.
Yeah, Frostbite, what a great card in this match. Just like in this, really in Lady of the Crease's deck, just being able to pretty much deal with anything.
And of course, there is an anticipation that maybe one of these won't live. So why not both of them?
Yeah, actually, it looks like Giant Killer and Murder Strider are going to take care of the creatures on Lady of the Crease's field. This is very reminiscent of Game 1, where just the card advantage from the Abzan deck.
And that might be the way Kaldheim Standard is. The more card advantage you can generate, the better. I mean, you can say that for any format, but I'm finding this, especially with the games today, you really need to figure out ways to multiply your resources. And if you can't keep up with your opponent, it's going to be death by resources.
Yeah, this deck looks extremely strong and very good in this match. All right, Shatter Skull Smashing is going to take care of the problem child, Shepherd of the Flock, and the Vivian.
I'm sorry, your names for all of these cards. I cannot help myself here. I'm loving this. I'm taking inventory.
All right, we got a big swing though. Still a big swing for Rihanna, applying that pressure finally. Lady of the Creases down to 12 now.
So this is where I stand by my statement, and I say, you know, this may look slightly like Eldraine Standard.
Slightly.
Only slightly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you just have that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna just let you have that. And both players are 2-2, so this match is really, really important because, like we said before, X and 2 is pretty live for playoffs. So this match really matters for both of them. Got some Elspeth Conquers Death shenanigans. Love to see it. Looks like lights are pretty much out here for Lady of the Crease.
Yeah, Rihanna just not taking any chances, decides to play the Remorse, and why not? You're at 28 life at that point. You might as well try to eliminate what is potentially the last threat.
Yep, and lethal. Well, we're swinging. That was a. Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh,
kind of makes sense here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The lands are also really important in this game. We should not count them out. They can be turned into creatures, as we're seeing right now. So it's not lights out just yet, because Lady of the Crease has a blocker here. She's going to go to 3.
Yeah, I don't see too many decks keeping up with this Abzan Adventures build. It just keeps pouring out value, and it doesn't stop either.
Yeah, the best it looks like Lady of the Crease can do is try and hold back the tide with the Faceless Havens. Elspeth Conquers Death gonna bring back a Mammoth, because why not? And we're gonna try to go for game again.
Yeah, at this point, it's, you know, you have the Snowlands to help out, but will it be enough? We see the Barrens here, a lot of land to go around.
Yeah, keeping the Giant Killer untapped, or keeping it back, so not attacking with it, which makes a lot of sense here. But this means looks like lethal.
Yeah, I like the use of the Giant Killer there to tap down those lands. That's one way to deal with animated lands.
Yep. And there we have it. All right, that was a really great game. 2-0 GG's to Rihanna there. Had a really great deck, super powerful, bringing in, had so much card advantage there, just able to really overwhelm Lady of the Crease. Lady of the Crease did her best trying to hold back Rihanna with the sweeps, with the Ugins, but it was just not enough. And so now that means that Rihanna is 3-2, still live for playoffs, which is super important because, as we know, the winner of this league is going to get an invite to the Call Time Championship. Thanks, WotC, for sponsoring VML this season, letting that happen. So still live for that prize. And now Lady of the Crease drops to X and 3. So still wild card, might be able to get in there. Just sort of depends on how next week shakes out. So yeah, great games. What did you think about that?
Did you say that was 2-0? Oh my goodness, that was 2 matches that felt like 3
that was
or
2
4.
games.
That was
yeah,
2
that was
games.
2 games. No,
Oh
that
my
was 2 games. Yeah.
I cannot believe, especially that game 1. I mean, when you get to the point where you're not playing a mill deck and one of the players almost mills, you know something went down. So GG to both players again, and I really liked both decks. It's just that Abzan Midrange has the potential to be a tier 1 deck. It just looked really powerful in that matchup, and when you have a deck that can stand up to Ugin on that many ends, it's ridiculous, and well done and well built by Rihanna. And again, well done by Lady of the Crease for building such a resilient deck. That deck would be great in so many other matchups. It's just when you have that much Planeswalker removal and you're that reliant upon Ugin, things get a little dicey.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely still impressed with Lady of the Crease's play, with their use of lands, with the with the things that their deck was doing. Great Henge, broken in half, Throne of Eldraine, doing its thing. So, all right, let's move on to the next match of the week. What do we got going for us here? We're going to see Blazin with blue-black rogues.
Ooh, we finally got a chance to see pretty familiar
list here. We got the Ruined Crab version of blue-black rogues. As we know, the Soaring Thought Thieves, the Guild Enforcer, super important cards, Into the Story, very important cards, is playing a Lurrus version, so able to recur these resources should they hit the graveyard. Yeah, good to see. And we got some Foretell cards in here. What do we think about this little blend of Kaldheim?
Well, I saw it coming. That saw it coming was going to be one of the new cards for blue-black rogues. I mean, that just had it written all over it. But here's the thing. Rogues were already so powerful. There were some other cards released in Kaldheim that suddenly we're still not seeing here. We're not seeing King Narfi's Betrayal. We're not seeing the 3-drop rogue that creates Boast for tutoring. We're not seeing any of that. Why? Because rogues were already good to begin with. So again, some things to look out for here. Of course, Lurrus, even though it's only the companion, it's one of the most powerful cards and good for stabilization. We have those pesky crabs. If you see those early, you better watch out because they take over the game quickly. 0-3, they're not so defenseless or harmless looking suddenly. You have the Skyclave Shade for frequent removal here. Lowmage's Domination for bigger creatures. And of course, we have Mystical Dispute for Against the Mirror. Crippling Fear, a card from the sideboard to kind of keep an eye on here. So yeah, if you let rogues go for too long, they will just run away with the game. And it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing at least one rogue deck here in the future this week. Always a deck to look out for. Always a deck that folks purposely sideboard into.
Yeah, so let's take a look at what the opponent is doing. We have Ruben Polanco here with mono green. What do we think about this list?
Well, we're seeing another recurring theme here, a second one. We have the Henges back, and why not? Great Henges, great. Some big fans I'm seeing, especially out of the sideboard here, very much not run in the mill here. We have the Ugins, we have the Kogalas, we have Okam Adversary. His intervention here for those board wipes. We also have Gemraiser, a card when main boarded can be very deadly against stuff like the Abzan deck. Although for against rogues, I guess some stuff to look out here. We have the Oozes main boarded. We have Arachnirs in the sideboard. This mono green deck came prepared to face rogues. And let's not forget that Gemraiser adds reach if it mutates. And that's going to make it very difficult for rogues to move through, with the exception of Thieves Guild Enforcer. That would be one rogue to keep an eye on from the rogue side of the matchup.
Yeah, definitely excited to see what's going on here. I'm really liking the Vorinclex. We have 3. 3 Vorinclexes, super powerful card. The Praetor, who is for some reason in Kaldheim. We don't know. Doesn't matter. Praetors does what he wants. Whatever he wants. Do whatever he wants. Whatever. All right, let's get into the game. See how rogues and mono green clash.
Ooh.
Seeing a little bit a landlight hand here from Blazin.
Yeah, if you are in the rogue position, you definitely don't want too many lands at once. You do have the crab. The only problem is there's no island to go with it, right? So normally you see Fable Passage, you see crab, and you're like, that's the jackpot. That's 6 cards right there. And it kind of gets your fuel moving with into the story. But here you have to play the passage first, theoretically speaking, before you can get out the crab. So it's a good hand. I'd still keep it. Risky hand, but a good hand.
Yeah, and Ruby is going to start with a Swarm Shambler. And Blazin drew that Temple Deceit.
It was a good draw.
Very good draw. And an island on the top. I imagine we see a little Ruin Crab coming down. Yep.
Gotta love and respect the crab here.
Indeed we do.
That also opens up the door for Of One Mind, something that the Rogues didn't originally run. It is a very cheap one. Once that Soaring Thought Thief hits the field, we'll be able to do that plus Of One Mind together. And look out for that Agadeem's Awakening to become a land to make that move happen next turn.
Yep, we're going to see a Yorvo. Also an Eldraine card. We didn't see a lot of, but it's definitely powerful. Oh, yeah, and just like you said, Agadeem Awakening is going to be the flip side, going to act as a land here, which gives some options for Blazin.
Ooh.
Blazin's going to opt to just get rid of the Swarm Shambler while they can. How do we feel about this play here?
Well, right now we're going for the Soaring Thought Thief here. That's going to, I think Blazin is thinking the mill standpoint here, which is great because let's face it, you're probably not going to be able to outdamage those beefy mono green creatures, especially as we get into the mid game. There is that Vorinclex that's lurking in the deck, so definitely going for the mill strat here.
Yeah, we're going to see another Swarm Shambler hit the battlefield, making Yorvo bigger. That's a cute interaction there. And a Blizzard Brawl taking out that Soaring Thought Thief. And what an attack here. 8.
Oh, no.
Sorry, Ruin Crab.
That is a massive Yorvo at this point. And one card I want everybody to pay attention to at this point, that is a Castle Garenberg on that side of the field. That's going to make the Vorinclex come out quicker. Keep an eye out and watch out for it.
Yeah, we're going to see another Soaring Thought Thief and an Of One Mind. Ruin Crab's going to mill some more cards here. But will that be enough?
I think green's just going to be too beefy at this point, and that castle's going to be a heavy assist with it. Unless Ruby decides that they want to bring Vivian.
All right, what does Vivian do for Ruby here?
Creates Reachers. Something that every player wants to do against rogues.
Just overwhelm. Swinging in with 7. We're going to see a block here.
Yeah, that crab first, though, wants to have the final say here with more milling. So Yorvo here, pretty beefy threat here. Again, that's something to watch out for on the field. But again, that Vorinclex is looking really scary in Ruby's hand right now.
Well, Blazin is going to opt not to attack. Has an Essence Scatter in hand. So maybe that comes into play here.
Ooh. Well, here it is. Here's everybody's favorite card here. And bear in mind the tokens aspect of this as well.
Yeah, Vorinclex is gonna hit the bin because of Essence Scatter, but listen, Ruby still got herself a questing beast. Got them questing beast. They've got so much power. How much damage is that?
A lot.
12.
Math is for blockers, remember?
That's right. That's the spirit. Math is for blockers. Who wants to count?
And Rogue's also posing the great threat here.
All right, Loris. But how does Loris really change what's going on?
Well, there's a couple ways this can happen. So you can bring both Wind Robbers in, and you can block and sacrifice them. The problem is Questing Beast is kind of an issue for rogues. It always has been. So that alone might be the determining factor here. Probably going with the Soaring Thought Thief because those can block Questing Beast.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. We got an oops from Blazin. But that's 1, 2. Oh, that's right. Yep, we're going to see another creature made. Yorvo gets even bigger. And we're going to Alpha Strike here.
And why not here at this point? I mean, you carry this big of a field. The rogues really aren't going to hurt you or kill you too much. There's no reason to not here. All
right, Merfolk Windrider is going to be sacked. This is not lethal because Loris gains Blazin some life, but they are definitely, their back is definitely against the wall here.
Yeah, their back is absolutely against the wall here. And the only unfortunate thing about rogues is once it falls behind, once you have a big chunky board on the opposing side, it's really difficult to come back.
I mean, is there anything Blazin can really draw?
Well, taking a look at the list here, Drown in the Lock is always a utility spell to draw. Probably really important here. Also, Low Mage's Domination would be another interesting one, but I don't know if there's enough mana to make all of that work at once. Again, Rogues is more of the I'm going to stop it before it happens versus handling it once it's present on the field. That's one of its weaknesses.
Well, Blazin's going to opt to cast a Low Mage's Domination and take out the Vivian. How do we feel about that play?
It was a really good play. It took care of the Vivian and stabilized the board here. You still have to deal with that Yorvo, though, and that's going to be kind of difficult. The only thing is, once Luris is on the field, Luris can create that kind of infinite blocking as long as Trample isn't present with the Wind Robbers, and that also generates card advantage as well.
Yeah, wow, we're going to see Blazin swinging for 3, and then looks like they're going to cast an Academ's Awakening.
Yes, that will bring the board back.
Good for 2.
And I believe we still have a Luris activation as well, too, here.
I believe that is correct.
But which one? Do you go and be more proactive? The problem is you still have to deal with that beast that has reach, right?
Right. But it's a matter of, like, does Ruby keep swinging? Or do they, play it safe?
I'm pretty sure they hold back at this point because all swinging is going to do is just produce draws for the Wind Robber. However, if you don't do that, then Blazin can just hold back and they can sacrifice the Wind Robber to draw cards regardless. So this is a really rough spot for Ruby to be in right now. And again, it came from defeating the Vivian, and really kudos to Blazin for stabilizing that board. That's one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, that was a very, very good play from Blazin, relying on the lifelink on Luris, taking advantage of that. And now has an Inch of the Story and a very, very intimidating board.
Yeah, the unusual thing about this board state is this isn't how Rogues is used to winning. Rogues usually mills, right? You only see this kind of thing if you have like Triple Thieves Guild Enforcer in the opener or something like this. Seeing Rogues be attacking is very unusual.
Well, I think that's the great thing about Rogues is that it's such a versatile deck. It can pivot very easily, and it can do it's just capable of doing multiple things at once. It's pressuring the life total and the library. Oh, but we're going to see a very big beast here, which can destroy an artifact or enchantment when it comes into the battlefield. But Saw It Coming is going to take care of that. What are the outs here for Ruby?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking about Great Henge right now. That's a big one. Maybe another Vorinclex out of nowhere as well. Remember that Blazin is only at 5 life right now. It only takes one really big chunky spell for Ruby to get back into the game. However, counter spells could be a factor.
Yeah, and Blazin just drew 4 cards off of Into the Story, and they're all very good. And also drew another Into the Story. So looks like the tides have really turned into to Blazin's favor here.
Yeah, and that's one of the weaknesses of mono green. We'll call it aggro mid almost versus this is less of a food build. The food build can kind of draw cards and come back against rogues, but that was a rough spot. Some of that could be attributed to also Ruby drew a lot of lands during that game, like a lot of lands, even before the In Search of Greatness was able to scry there. So that's a GG there. It is very difficult to defeat mono green with rogues, and Blazin has done it here to take game 1.
All right, so what do we think of the sideboard's going to look like?
So on Blazin's side here, it looks like not too much. Maybe consider the Cling to Dust, thinking, again, open deck list for the Arachnir. That Arachnir can be very dangerous in the yard. We also have more Lull Mage's Domination to take the big bulky cards, so that could also be a thing. Crippling Fear would normally be a factor, but Mono Green's creatures are just way too big to be able to handle this.
Yeah, it looks like Ruby's bringing in things. Just a lot of card advantage, it looks like. Has to make some cuts, though.
Yeah, this is where the tough part comes in. So, like, you want to play the Ugin, right? But the problem is that you know that rogues are full of counter spells, and it's going to be really difficult to play an 8-costed Ugin. The only solution to that is to play through your spells and try to generate card advantage and play through those counters as much as possible. Rogues do have a limit on their counter spells. We have 4 Drown in the Lock, 2 Sought coming, and then I'm not sure, I'm trying to recall if there was any negate brought out of the sideboard for rogues. That was such a fast sideboard. Maybe we could see the negate, maybe we don't.
Yeah, Blazin definitely seemed confident in their plan on what they needed to be doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, with there's so many new cards, I think, in Ruby's deck, trying to figure out, well, that's the thing. It's like we were saying, rogues being able to do so many different things, it's hard to know what access to best push back with rogues.
Yeah, agreed. Rogues can pretty much beat any deck in the meta if it has a strong opening game and if it continues to draw gas. If that's the case, rogues are really, really difficult to take down and not too much answers it. On the flip side, though, the same is to be said for Ruby's deck. If they get out, you know, if they go in order and they curve out, it's really difficult to stop because the creatures are so big and there's only so much that the rogues are going to be able to counter here.
All right, we got opening hands. Looks like Ruby is keeping both keeps from both players. Looks like what can we expect the first couple turns of this game to look like?
So what we're going to have here is you're going to get the Thieves Guild Enforcer out because you want to be able to set up the of one mind play here. So probably Thieves Guild Enforcer to make that now Drown in the Lock more potent. We also have a possible Foretell play for Sought coming or a removal spell.
Yeah, a lot of options Blazin has, but it's going to go ahead and take out that Scavenging Ooze before it's a problem.
Yes, and speaking of problems, something that Blazin is going to need to pay attention to is, will Ruby continue to play lands? If not, the game plan changes there.
Oh, looks like Ruby did not draw a third land. That could really end up being a problem. Something very difficult to recover from.
Yeah, one of the scary things about rogues is that if you trip up even once in terms of being able to establish a board presence early, you're not going to be able to recover against rogues because at that point there's going to be too much gas.
Yeah, and look at the way Blazin was patient and decided to like hold off on casting Thieves Guild Enforcer, instead draw to a land.
Yes, and I think part of the reason here maybe when the scry happens, or if there is a future scry of some kind, you think about, okay, can I respond with the Thieves Guild Enforcer? You can't always all the time, but sometimes it's something to consider.
Well, Blazon's going to cast that cast another Thieves Guild Enforcer, really starting this mill train early.
Yeah, so now there's a lot of options here. You can either cast the Blood Chief's Thirst or hang on.
No, we're just swinging.
Oh, we're just swinging.
With I believe that's 2, 4, 6 cards now that go into the graveyard.
Yes, and it wasn't as much of a factor in game 1, but Thieves Guild Enforcer is a very stressful card for mono green to play against because of the Death Touch.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. Although Blazon has been milling a lot of cards, opts to put the Ruin Crab on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, Ruby is short on lands right now. That's the other weakness of mono green is if you don't get your lands established right away and you trip up, especially against a deck like Rogues, it's very difficult to stabilize because there's no board wipes. Your board wipes are 8 costed at that point. And again, that's part of the problem.
Yeah, so Ruby's at 4 and did not draw another land, it looks like. So this looks like it could just be lights out.
Yeah, in a very sudden twist of events. Remember how I said the only way Rogues go aggro-ish is to have multiple copies of Thieves Guild Enforcer on the field? Here it is.
Yeah, that's a very, very decisive game too. Wow, GG's to Blazon. Very decisive 2-0 win for Blazon, who is now moved up to 4-1. Very, very good record. So pretty much locked for playoffs. So awesome. Congratulations to them. Ruby Polanco drops to 2-3. So still potentially live depending on how things work out. But yeah, overall, we saw some really great matches.
Yeah, and who would have thought that in the Rogues versus Mono Green matchup that the Rogues were going to be the aggressor in game 2? What a turn of events there. Something that if you're a Rogues player, you just love to see that happen occasionally, to put a quick end to that when sometimes you have to wait to see the entire deck milled. So again, great piloting there by Blazon, and GG to both players. Ruby's Mono Green deck also looked very strong. It's just if you don't get the lanes, you can't put the creatures down.
Yep. So I'm overall pretty impressed with the decks we got to see. Pretty impressed with the call time cards that did make it into the games this week. Overall, pretty excited what this set's kind of doing. And GG's to our players. Thank you everybody for joining us this week. Week 5 of the VML. This is season 4. Pretty big, pretty important season. We are sponsored by NRG Series. Thank you to the NRG Series and Wizards of the Coast for participating, for sponsoring us. They're the reason why the prize pool is $3,000 for, first place finish and invite to the Kaldheim Championship. Reason we got Happy Meal, Max judging for us. Yeah, it's really awesome that the VML is getting like the support it needs, and you as an individual can support as well. You can go to Patreon, you can sub, you can contribute to the prize pool even if you want to support these players as well. So yeah, overall, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you to our sponsors. Yeah, it's been a great Friday night.
Yeah, I had a fun time doing commentary with you, Ellie, and again, I want to thank VML for having both of us. This has been our second cast, and just oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to even more in the future. So thank you to VML for having us. And I just want to remind you all, if you're thinking about signing up for the VML in the future, go for it. Everybody is a very difficult opponent. There are no freebies here in the VML. So if you're looking to sharpen up your skill, consider signing up.
Yeah, absolutely. It is open to everybody of marginalized genders. Would love to have you in our future seasons. So thank you all and have a great night.
Take care, y'all.